Girl, I'm trying to come and chill with you. Flip a dojin in the bed, I'm reading manga till it's 2. Tell me that you love us if I go, I'm knowing that it's true. Cause you acting all moe and vanilla in my view. So this is for them waifus. Straight 2D flex in my life, fool. If you fuck with him, tell you my dude. Let the beat right out, keep it nice and smooth, yo. Hello? Yeah, I got a question.
Alright, welcome to the Weeaboos, the anime podcast where some of the most unqualified people try to answer your anime questions. I'm Hunter.
I'm Kyle.
And I'm Dean.
And we don't have a Sam tonight.
Or Jeremy.
Or a Jeremy. To start us off, the drink we have tonight is called Dawn of the Red. It's a red ale, I believe.
Red IPA, yeah.
Red IPA.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it.
It's
Cosby
actually
Brewing.
super good.
Yeah.
So tonight's topic, we're going to be talking about classic anime, and more specifically, what makes a classic anime.
Mm-hmm.
So I'll start off with just examples. Like, these came to mind when I thought classic anime. I thought of Akira, Ghost in the Shell, and then as far as series go, something like Sailor Moon. Or even, like, almost Dragon Ball Z, but I feel like Sailor Moon is more classic than DBZ is, really.
Yeah, maybe.
Around the same time,
Just,
aren't they?
Like, I don't think that Sailor Moon is necessarily good, but I do think that it is classic. I think that it had a pretty big impact. I think it's like, if you think of the magical girl genre, that's like where it all began. So I think that it's impactful.
Well, if you want to get like...
Oh, do you have history behind this?
well, yeah. Let me first tell
Don't
you
ask
the
Kyle this
entire
question.
history of Magical Girls. No, I mean, I don't know if Cardcaptor Sakura came before Sailor Moon. Now that I think about it, probably didn't. But even before that, there were things like Minky Momo that really kicked off the magical girl genre. But I think and we'll get into this right now, something that kind of defines a classic is something that redefines a specific genre. So Sailor Moon may not have been the first magical girl show, but it definitely redefined the genre to what we know what it is today.
Well, by that logic, then, like, Madoka Magica will be, like, the new classic because it did this whole spin. And made it super, serious.
It will.
Give it time.
But before we start naming off, like, a ton of series of this was a classic, this is going to be a classic, let's get into the why. There are a few different categories that kind of make up what a classic is. One would be timelessness. One would be what I already said, which is it needs to redefine the genre. And then, obviously, age.
Okay.
And timelessness and age sound similar, but age is more literal, where timelessness is focusing on the rewatchability. So timelessness would be both influential for its time and now.
Right. So the second one you mentioned, I kind of said that as impact, whereas you've described it as just redefining something. So I think that that's one of the really important parts.
Definitely.
About it, because, if it could be something that's very good, but if it doesn't do something a little bit different and really, like, if it doesn't have a bunch of copycats after it comes out, I feel like it hasn't really become a classic.
Yeah.
Well, there's always, like, cult classics, but that's a whole
But I
different
think a cult
category.
classic is different. A cult classic is everyone that's, like, that critically... does anime have, like, legitimate critics?
Yeah, definitely.
They have, like... that would be that all of them have decided it's horrible, but all of the fans love it. I think that, like, every ecchi show in existence would pretty much fall into this category.
Well...
Because looking at it critically, if you're trying to say, like, if you have predetermined things and you say, like, story has this much weight, character design, development,
right.
All of this stuff, then, like, objectively, ecchi shows would have, lower, like, scores. If that was your threshold, that's how you were, like, mathematically trying to measure it. It would objectively just, like, not be.
But what if there's an ecchi
acclaimed.
show? What if there's an ecchi show that redefined the ecchi genre? Then would it be a classic in its own category, per se? Like, I would say Prison School may have redefined the ecchi genre.
Yeah.
Redefined it.
Or at least made it its own.
I would just say it was a really well done. Just like Kill la Kill was a really well done shonen, but it did not redefine the genre as a whole. It was just, like, it had a lot of cliches, but it didn't matter because I had so much fun watching it.
I guess so. Definitely depends on, like, how many... I mean, we don't watch that many ecchis all the time, so we can't compare them all.
Well, maybe some more than others. But, so...
Right, I haven't seen... I've seen, like, High School of the Dead, Prison School, and I think that's it, actually.
Really?
I don't think I've seen another like primarily ecchi show.
Right. Well, let's go through this list real quick. The list that I just mentioned with the 3 categories and see if we can agree. So we all agree that it needs to be timeless, right? A classic, in order to be a classic, it has to be timeless, which is mostly rewatchability, correct?
Right. It has to be something that holds up.
Right. And I don't mean that timelessness is the main factor, because there are plenty of shows I consider classics that I can't rewatch. I can never rewatch Grave of the Fireflies. I watched that movie once and I will never watch it again.
You know, I agree. I don't think that timelessness is the only like qualifying factor or even the most important. I actually want to say that impact is, but really like rewatchability is almost one of the lower ones because like I mentioned that Sailor Moon is a classic. There's no way I could watch a single episode.
Okay.
Like I don't think it would hold up at all. And like classic video games are the same way. Like Final Fantasy VII, people loved it. I'll bet a lot of them trying to replay it will be like,
It's sometimes hard to go
rough.
back in time.
Okay, the next thing we said was redefining the genre. So it takes the best aspect of pre-existing media in its genre and completely reimagines it. I think that
that's the most important part.
is the most important part in defining what a classic is. It impacts the genre so severely that everything preceding it tries to emulate it. That is a huge deal in my opinion. And I think I read somewhere that a sign of a classic is that regardless of when you watch any classic, you can immediately recognize its place in the genealogy of classic works. I found that super interesting.
So you're
So
saying that
you almost inherently know it's a classic, no matter if you've seen something that comes before or after another classic.
you just know that it's a classic upon watching it.
Sure, yeah.
That's why we're saying that we can kind of predict what we've seen that will at one point become a classic.
Correct, yeah.
All right.
And then lastly is age. And I think it's...
I think that's the only objective qualifier because, I mean, even with other classical things, like other, cars or whatever, like I think classical car legitimately has to be 30 years, it's either 25 or 30 years or older to be considered a classic. So I think
Interesting.
that's the only one that's like objectively mathematical. Like you
Yeah.
cannot have a 5-year-old, no matter how timeless it is, it has to be over a certain
age,
threshold
yeah.
to
Well,
be a classic.
I know there's a highly acclaimed classic film list somewhere, and in order to be considered to be on that list, the movie has to be at least 10 years old.
Yeah.
Right, so that's why I say that that's the objective qualifier.
Right.
I think that it's important in that sense, and it might be, depending on how you look at it, the most important because that's like an instant ding on it. If it's not 10 years or older, it cannot be. End of story.
Yes.
So, but I do think that the impact is more important as will it become a classic once it hits the threshold? Because
Right.
the threshold is just there to say, has everyone
It's
gotten
still
over their
hold up.
honeymoon phase?
Exactly. Yeah, that's a fantastic point.
Yeah.
But going off age, that's kind of where I like to factor in that there are different types of classics, which we briefly talked about. I would say there are modern classics, there are cult classics, and then there are like the epitome of
The true
classics,
classics.
true classics.
Yeah.
Yeah. Modern classics would be anything, in my opinion, that isn't 10 years old yet.
Okay.
Cult classics would be those not exactly critically acclaimed anime. Exactly. We all know what a cult
Yeah,
classic
a lot
is.
of people liked it.
Right.
It doesn't matter if critics liked it or not.
Maybe yes, that's perfect. And then classics are true classics are what defined those specific genres.
Right, and I think I'll open this question after I answer it myself. But basically, what the main points of what is making the classic besides it's impactful, what makes it impactful? I think first and foremost it's going to be character design, and the reason I say that is every time I think of these old ones, these old classic things like Totoro, nothing before or since has had you see Totoro anywhere and it is instantly recognizable by so many people. And I think that speaks to the design of the character. Things like Princess Mononoke is just these super iconic characters. Even Sailor Moon, to an instance, she's a very unique design for what she was.
Well, I'd say good character design is definitely important in making a good show regardless of whether it's a classic or just something you enjoy, but that is not the key factor in defining a classic.
Is there a classic that you can think of right now that you can't think of the main character instantly?
Probably not.
Like, I feel like they're really intertwined. At least for me, maybe that's one.
I kind of go with Hunter. I think the character designs have to be pretty well up there. Like they gotta be memorable. That's
right.
Definitely.
I mean, I think they do have to be near perfect and memorable. Yes, but I'm just saying. To me, it's the story, and you know how the characters are written, and then the character design comes. Maybe not second, but like maybe character design does come first, and that's how people are able to write such good characters. But it's, you know, there's just so much more than just the character design.
Right. I think as
so many
like
factors.
a writer, it would be easier to write a good story around a well-defined character than it would to be a super good story and then drag a character and drop them in. I think that building the story around the character allows for, you know, greater use of like the story or the setting as a whole, because if you just have a great story and you have to grab and pick a character, I think like some of the traits, no matter how good you write it, will just be misaligned.
Right.
So I do think that it's an important factor to be a very well designed character from the start, something instantly recognizable.
I mean, I would say, what is a classic other than a almost perfect creation?
Like a masterpiece.
So in that sense, I feel like the writer or the creator, whoever, the director, takes each part of what makes up an anime and they perfect it. They make it their own. So they take the story and they take pre-existing concepts of similar stories and tweak it so it fits their universe, and they perfect the story. Then they move on to the character design and they think of like what makes a good character. Like I know I read somewhere once that like the best protagonist, the best character design is a character that you can recognize solely off of its silhouette. That's how you make a good character.
I've seen that before.
That's cool. Yeah, I like that.
So they do that. They perfect the character based on previous characters in that genre, and then they move on to the next portion, the next and the next. They just perfect each
Go down the line.
individual aspect of that show.
Now, one thing I think is interesting that you said is that all of it is pre-existing. So do you think that the firsts in a given genre could never be considered a classic because they haven't, you know, it's like a first draft almost. Like the first person to create a psychological thriller, the first person that took the idea of a psycho thriller, like they didn't invent the genre, obviously, but the first person to adapt it to anime, do you think that they can never have been a classic because they were the first one to go into that format?
No, I kind of feel like you're finding a loophole in my argument, which is totally fine, because I think one of the biggest classics of all time in anime is Astro Boy.
And it's it's like
I mean,
the original.
nothing came before it. Really, that was. I mean, you could argue that everything is based off of like Greek mythology and
you could
heroes
almost
and
say
ancient
everything's a
storytelling.
copy.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yes. So, in a sense,
Go down to the details.
like there is no true original
Okay.
of anything.
I'll accept that. That's everything's a copy. That's
Yeah.
true.
So, do we want to get into what some of our like ultimate classics, true classics are?
One thing I want to bring up. So
Okay.
Sam isn't here, but he did text us.
Right.
And one thing he said was that classicness is objective. Like it really doesn't matter if you enjoy it or not. Like the impact of this work is the only thing that defines if it's a classic or not. Like it doesn't matter if you think that Astro Boy is the greatest work on the planet Earth. Like you can absolutely hate it, but it, like as a true, you know, like aficionado or whatever, like a purveyor of anime, you have to like respect and recognize that it is a classic, even if you hate everything about it.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think like a lot of people have a series that they still recognize it as a classic, but they say I never liked it, but
Right.
I still think it's pretty good. Oh, well, I mean,
I think that's a really good point. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I agree with the point.
Yeah.
So moving on, what do you? Yeah, we'll start with Kyle. What are your classics?
So things I consider true classics. Oh boy. So what I did was, I mean, I wouldn't say I did a ton of like research into what other people consider classics. I literally just did one quick look through of my anime list, and I pulled out the things that popped out, and I categorized them into true classics, modern classics, and cult classics.
okay.
So, this is not every classic there ever was, this is just
exhaustive list.
yeah. So I mean, these are just a few things I pulled out that I've seen. So some of the true classics would be Evangelion, Cowboy Bebop, Akira, Nazca, or Totoro, or really anything from Studio Ghibli. Ashita no Joe, Cardcaptor Sakura, Sailor Moon, Astro Boy, Lupin III, Macross, Legend of the Galactic Heroes, Perfect Blue, or really anything by Satoshi Kon, Gundam, Trigun, Monster, Utena, Memories, Ghost in the Shell, Urusei Yatsura, and Rosa Versailles were a few.
Okay. I always feel weird because everything I've seen, Kyle has seen. I haven't seen anything that Kyle hasn't seen. So
Okay.
I pretty much agree with I haven't seen all of those, but all the ones that he mentioned that I have seen, I would agree.
Right.
Definitely. But do I have to drink for that?
Yeah,
is
you
that what
have to drink
happened?
for that. That was Dean's Taiwanese girlfriend.
And I mean, I would like to say that I think everything on that list, maybe they didn't redefine the genre, but they redefined a certain aspect of anime somehow. I mean, there's so many, we can't go through all of them, but should I move on to...
Yeah, go into your cults and your moderns.
Okay. Cult classics are Bubblegum Crisis, Gunbuster and Diebuster, Devilman, Giant Robo, Serial Experiments Lane, Kite, Galaxy Express 999, Night on the Galactic Railroad, Golden Boy, Now and Then, Here and There, Ninja Scroll, Record of Lodoss War, Sherlock Hound, Video Girl I, Otaku no Video, Angel's Egg, Touch, maybe Dream Hunter, Ram. Like, some of those I feel like I may have picked out just because they have that obscure 80s OVA vibe.
Okay.
The quality is definitely differing on a lot of those. But my point is some of those cult classics are a lot more true, like Bubblegum Crisis, than maybe, I don't know, Video Girl I.
Seen some of those, but
I've
Yeah?
heard of
Agreed.
one of them.
Well, yeah.
I saw it.
Oh, Angel's Egg.
Angel's Egg.
Yeah, all right. And then, finally, I didn't come up with too many modern classics, but a few that came to mind were Kill la Kill, Fullmetal Alchemist Brotherhood, Madoka, Bakemonogatari, or maybe the entire
Franchise.
Monogatari franchise.
yeah.
Bakuno, Steins Gate, Hyuge Mono, although that's kind of a personal choice, House of Five Leaves, Kyosukiga, and Tatami Galaxy.
No ping pong?
Maybe Ping Pong.
Okay.
Ping Pong, I mean, it's hard for me to be unbiased because I just love everything Masaki Yuasa does.
Yeah.
So,
I think I disagree with a few of those. Like, I really liked Tatami Galaxy. I don't think it'll become a classic. And then there was
Am I not?
one more. Let me see your list here.
top.
Would you consider Kimono Zume?
Kimono?
This other
Yeah,
that's
Kill la
just not
Kill.
it.
I'm not sure if Kill la Kill would ever be a classic. Like, I think it was fantastic for what it was, but I don't think it would ever become a classic. I don't think it redefined.
I don't know. I'm seeing that
whatever it was.
silhouette right now, and it's
Take
that's
another
pretty.
drink.
It's her birthday.
I think it will be. Out of everything, I think that is one of the most likely to be considered a classic. And strangely enough, it's partially due to character design. I think those characters stand out like so much.
They're all so interesting. Like the Elite Four, the Ruko, Sasuke. Is that her name?
Satsuki.
Satsuki. Even her mom, as weird as
Yeah.
shit as she was,
Yeah.
she was definitely an interesting character design. I do think it was really fun, and I gave it like a 9 or something.
Yeah.
And I loved every second, but I just don't see it becoming a classic
Right.
because of the impact.
Well, I mean, I think we've agreed before that we like the show for different reasons. And I like it because I feel like it was, and I said this before, it was almost like a satire about, the current state of how
Yeah, it was.
people view, young girls in school uniforms in Japan. They're highly sexualized,
Yeah.
and I feel like the message was fantastic, and it didn't redefine any genre specifically, but it redefined the way we look at hypersexualized female characters.
But I think the impact is either A, too subtle, or B, if it became a classic, it would be something like really long down the line. People would look back at that and be like, oh yeah, I remember when anime was in this state and we had this giant satire of it.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I mean, that's the point of a modern classic, is it cannot be defined as a classic yet. It's this period of time until it reaches its 10-year mark is going to be continuous discussion and debate. Because opinions are going to change over time.
The other one you said was Macross?
I think Macross was under like the true classics.
Okay, but can you be a true classic or you're still airing?
No, Macross is... You're thinking of Macross Delta.
But is that not the same?
No, Macross is like
universe?
Gundam.
Oh.
It's been going on for a really long time.
Okay.
Since like the 80s.
That's a pretty long time.
Yeah. So, we got a question from Amai Buns. And says, hi, just want to say I've been really enjoying the Weeaboos podcast. I always like listening to it while I draw. I have an episode suggestion. Don't remember how much you guys have talked about this, but I think it would be really interesting if you guys did an episode on anime movies versus their TV series. Well, thank you so much. We love the compliment. And we thought about this, and I don't think enough of us have seen both series and their anime movie counterparts to do a full episode on it. So Hunter and I thought we would kind of talk about it ourselves and just do a kind of a longer answering segment on it.
Well, the first one that comes to mind, I feel like there's there's almost two different types of anime movies to their counterparts. There's the Full Metal Alchemist version, which is like a movie that is in itself a continuation or a separate side story. And then you have the Madoka or the Gurren Lagann, which is a retelling of the series in a shortened movie fashion with usually, I would say, like better overall quality as far as animation and like...
Well, in visual quality,
yeah,
but the story's
quality.
obviously cut down a lot.
Yeah, the story is definitely like, you know, compressed, but I think that the overall animation visual quality is higher. Like, Gurren Lagann, for instance, like I really like this series. And it's 26 episodes, and they've compressed it into 2 movies, which are like 13 episodes each, kind of like a before and after the time skip arcs. And I love the movies. Like, if I could, you know, cut the scenes from the movies into the series, I think that would be fantastic. Because I think the overall animation is cooler, and in Gurren Lagann specifically, they have a extra piece, I guess. Like the final fight scene in the series continues on in the movie, and I think that was really cool. And I thought the final fight scene in the movie was much better than the series.
Maybe.
I mean, that's an opinion, but you know, if you get down to bare knuckle boxing,
sure,
that's a +1 in my book. Well, the other thing is when you go into Full Metal Alchemist movie, I thought that was very weak compared to the series as a whole.
Now, which movie are you talking about?
The one that we watched together.
The Brotherhood one?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
The Brotherhood movie I thought was weak considering the series, because in the series you have all of this build up to this like really epic finale. You have a story that continues across 64 episodes. Maybe they have some like side things here and there, but really you figure out what their goal is in like episode 1 or 2, and it gets realized in episode 64. Like I think that the story actually takes this entire amount of time, whereas you know you really get to know the characters and you get to know the struggles, and it's like it's so relieving to finally see everything come together at the end. Whereas in the movie, you skip all the character development because it already happened,
right?
And you just have a watered down, not as interesting story.
Well, the Brotherhood movie is like a filler episode. It's just, you know, really long, and it's the point of it is not to really convey, you know, all these detailed moments relating to the series. It's just about having an extra long
Bleach movies,
interesting anime movie. Yes, exactly, like a Bleach movie or an
I just think
movie.
it pales in comparison
to
it
totally
the
does.
series as a whole, and I like. Yeah, I mean, if I wouldn't watch it again, for sure, and I probably wouldn't recommend other people to watch it, so I think that in that aspect it's failed as being a counterpart to the series.
Sure. I mean, yeah, I agree. I would say I kind of look down on... I don't thoroughly enjoy anime movie counterparts to the series. To me, it just seems like a marketing thing to make more money, you know. Oh, we had a successful series, let's just make this completely unnecessary movie to cater to the fans who don't have the time to watch the full series.
Yeah.
I mean, and in that regard, I guess it's a little, you know, justifiable.
It gets people into the series that wouldn't have otherwise because of the time sink. Like if I said, I love Gurren Lagann, you guys really need to watch it, but it'll take like 4 hours.
That would be the sole benefit, is catering to those people. Yes, I agree. But they are watered down versions. The only exception I would probably make are things that are retellings, like the Madoka movie or the Rebuild of Evangelion.
Right.
Those are two fantastic adaptations from the series because they're actually different. Especially the Rebuild of Evangelion. I love those movies because, I mean, this is a little bit of a spoiler, but they're rumored to be sequels to the original series. And that won't make a lot of sense to anyone who hasn't seen the series, so it's no big deal. But that's the kind of thing I like to see is, creativity. I don't want to see just copy and paste condensed things.
Not well thought out story,
Right.
just something for the fans to enjoy, something extra.
Right.
And you tend to see only the movies are made for the series that tend to be longer running, been in existence for a while longer.
Yeah.
But for the most part, movies are not as good.
Right.
I'll still watch them. Like, still give them a watch though.
Yeah, I mean, if it's a movie of a series I love, I'm gonna enjoy it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, if I had to recommend one or the other, it would always be the
course.
series,
Of
no matter
course.
what.
Yeah.
See, I'm actually like, specifically for the Gurren Lagann, the second one, the first one's like, okay. The second one, I would say, watch the series, then watch the second movie. Because I really enjoyed the extra bits
Okay,
added
but then
into
they
it.
have to watch almost twice as much because they have to watch the entire series and then the last movie.
Yeah, just the last movie. You can skip the first movie, that's fine.
I don't get that.
I don't know. I would say if you really like it, watch the second movie because it's a retelling, but it's visually more interesting and it has some extra bits at the end. That's what I would say. And if somebody
Complete
enjoyed
just
the
gotta finish
series,
it all.
I think that they would do that.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay. Do we want to move on to what we're watching?
Let's do it.
Okay, 1 second. Before we move on to that, I actually just kind of wanted to say a thank you to everyone. We've been getting really good feedback and lots of support and lots of questions and everything from all of you guys, and we just wanted to say thanks.
Yeah, we love all types of feedback, but I mean, if you think that something needs to be changed or like you think it would improve the show, even negative feedback, like constructively, is helpful. If like you've been scared to like talk shit about us, don't.
Yeah, I mean, and we wouldn't be doing this still if it wasn't for you guys. Like every little tiny like word of encouragement or question or anything has been like, it just makes
Dude,
our
if
day.
we still had like 3 views on SoundCloud per week and we knew that it was us 3 listening to the episode again, we probably would have quit by now.
Right,
honestly.
right. But we've been getting, a really good amount of listeners every week, and we really appreciate that. So thank you. And remember, we're moving on to what we're watching right now, but you can always send us your opinions on what you're watching this season, or, even if it's not airing this season, you're just watching something and you want someone to talk about it, message us.
Yeah, if you want to message us and be like, Steins Gate was awesome, I'll be like, dude, yeah, it fucking was.
Yeah, so totally. So, have you guys seen anything from this season?
So the only thing I watched
Was the best thing?
I watched 1 episode of Keijo.
Yeah.
just to see what it was about.
Oh man.
And let me tell you, that anime has no chill.
It's so
It was
good.
straight to 100%, dude. No backstory at all. Just like, I joined the Keijo school. Fuck it.
There was
And then
totally
it
backstory.
was not. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. It went into like a 10-minute some odd. Like, okay, fine. It was entirely backstory.
Okay,
But
yeah.
it was her in like her first match or something.
Yeah.
But it was just
Take it.
absolutely ridiculous. Like, I couldn't handle it, dude. It was probably the dumbest thing I've ever seen. But
Man.
I feel like it's self-aware. Kyle does not, but
No.
I feel like it's really self-aware and it knows exactly what it is, and it's not trying to be something it isn't. And I respect that.
No, I swear that I read the creators of the show want to make it, and I'm butchering the exact words, but they want to make it something like a serious sports drama.
From the episode I saw, it is not that at all. It is definitely like 100% about making scantily clad swimsuit women.
And that can't be serious.
No, I don't think.
I think it can. You didn't watch the second episode where she unleashed her superpower, essentially.
superpower?
Yeah, it's called something like the vacuum butt cannon, and you see it in the opening, where it's amazing.
It's amazing. Sadly, I am not watching any series this season, but I might have to watch some.
I love Keijo. Keijo is the anime of the season.
I'm not gonna watch any more Keijo.
Anime of the year. Okay, have you? That's all you watched?
Unfortunately.
Okay.
I do want to watch Occult 9, and I will be watching that by.
I do plan on watching that sometime.
Yeah, I'll have that by next.
Okay.
Next time we talk.
None of my opinions have really changed too much of what I've seen. Yuri on Ice is still pretty good. A lot of new anime spend a lot of their budget on the first episode to get you hooked, but everything so far has been maintaining its current quality, which is fantastic. All Out is probably the one that's really going downhill for me, only because it follows the conventions of a sports anime to a T. I don't see any originality in it, aside from the aesthetics, which is rugby. The second episode of Occultic 9 was mildly interesting, but it's still incredibly convoluted. There's way too much going on. The storytelling is just sloppy, and like I think I used the word spastic last week. It's just way too much. I'm not loving it.
Hopefully, I like it and you don't.
Yeah,
It'll
maybe
be one of those.
Sure. Okay. Yeah, that'll
Because
be
I
fine.
want to like it after seeing the trailer.
March Comes In Like a Lion is still one of the best. The second episode is more lighthearted than episode 1, although there were still like themes of death kind of floating around. It will be a bit darker, I think. And the older sister is the best female character in like anything that's going on right now. I loved the older sister character. She is fantastic and super loving and caring. Shumatsu no Izetta is one of the better shows this season. I think you'll like it a lot, Hunter. It's that World War II with the witch one.
Yeah, that one looks cool.
Yeah, I think you'll like that. I'm still a little unsure. Both episodes were good, but they're not particularly outstanding. But it did have strong moments. So it might be that type of series where we can't really put our finger on whether it's good or bad until the end. But it's enjoyable. Drifters, the second episode was a lot better than the first. We actually have some context as to what is going on, and the story is a lot more than we thought it would be. And then Flip Flappers had another good episode. You always laugh at the name.
Fucking show.
I found it very personally appealing. It's very my type of show. It's a little weird and colorful and pretty and just very pure. I like that very natural adventure type story. I'm really liking that. So in a quick wrap up.
Are you thinking about Keijo?
Yeah, so thinking about Keijo. In a quick wrap up, the must-watch shows of the season so far would be March Comes In Like a Lion, Shumatsu no Izetta, Flip Flappers, Yuri on Ice, and Keijo. Some hit or miss shows, they're kind of like 50-50 right now, are Occultic 9, Drifters, and Ping Pong Girls. And then we still don't have a, what is it called? Fune wo Amu? The dictionary anime. It hasn't been picked up by anyone. I think that's going to be really good, but I haven't seen it yet. Like I said earlier in the episode, please keep sending us questions, your opinions on shows, comments, feedback, whatever. We just love to hear from you guys. You can send us questions at theweeaboos@gmail.com, the Weeaboos on Twitter, or to myself at Secret Otaku on Tumblr. We want to get the word out, so share this episode with your friends, reblog it, we really like that. And if you have time, please give us an iTunes review. We want to thank Hentai Dude for our intro music and Kid Boo for our outro music. Do we need to take a drink real quick?
If I had drink.
Yeah, I'll take a drink. So like always, get
Drunk.
And
anime.
You can catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho-Oh in a tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit. Catch me smoking a sour off the coast of Okinawa. Feeling so high like I'm Ho-Oh in a tower. Take a flight on some shit. Got my dogs riding beside me, blazing hot. That's kamikaze, sacred fire. Don't be mad, I'm lit.
So like always, get
Drunk.
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 I always forget that outro goes.